formal announcements for this morning. So we'll move to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations anybody needs to make for today's meeting? No? Okay. We'll move then to item 3, which is the Regional Transport Delivery Plan, and it's on pages 3 to 34 of the agenda. Please, before I hand over to the officers, please can we note that Appendix 3 in relation to this report are exempt under paragraph 14, and therefore we will need to go into private session. So if anybody wants to make comments on those specific parts of the report, then we'll need to do that in the private part of the session. If you could let me know if that is the case. So if I could hand over now to Mark Wade and Stuart Davis to provide us with an overview of the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll introduce it and then bring Lee White in just to cover a bit more of the detail of the nuts and bolts of the report. And this is the next iteration. Obviously, we've been through a process with getting the regional transport plan developed, and that's subsequently been approved by Welsh Government. So the next iteration was to come up with a delivery plan and a sort of plan for the year 1 funding specifically, and then rolling on to future years. So following the confirmation from Welsh Government in terms of funding levels, or the potential funding levels, we've developed a programme to align with that, and that's part of what's been presented through the report. So, but I'll bring Lee White in just to cover a little bit further detail on it. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I think, if I may, Chair, just to echo Stuart's comment about the regional transport plan being approved, there's now been a write out by chief officers to colleagues around the region, just confirming that the RTP, in particular the policies, is now live, and they will obviously now be applicable to matters such as planning decisions, environmental issues, and so on and so forth around the region. So there has been a write out by Wendy Walters just to confirm that to colleagues, and that should filter down to those decision making bodies as necessary. In terms of the report, Chair, if I may, just to cover 3 topical issues. First of all is the budget issue. As Stuart said, we've obviously been through a process of aligning the list of schemes to the budget, and obviously, as I think you referred to, Chair, we would need to go into private session to discuss the detail of that, simply because of commercial sensitivity of that list, with some of the budget issues surrounding it. I think it's fair to say the budget settlement is tight, and there are a number of elements within that to consider. If I may, Chair, just highlight 3 things on the report. First of all is the principle of although this is year 1, we are allowed to bid for some funding in years 2 and 3 of the regional transport plan delivery process. Effectively, officers have been through that list of schemes. There are a number of schemes within there that will be partially constructed in year 1, and obviously we will be looking to take the rollover into years 2 and 3 to complete those. We don't want schemes left half built, as I think everyone will appreciate. There's also a number of schemes that will be on the cusp, we believe, of being out on site at the end of the first year, and once again they're likely to be subject to the rollover as well, providing all the approvals and procedures have been completed at that point. So I think that's the key element of the rollover into years 2 and 3. We do have some opportunity there to spread the funding across into those extra years. I think the other issue that came up very recently, Chair, if I may, is the issue of reclassification of the schemes. Now, as you'll appreciate, we worked through a process of classifying the schemes by type, and the Welsh Government at the 11th hour did ask for a significant change, although in terms of the scheme criteria. So we were looking at, for instance, multimodal schemes covering a number of transport modes, and schemes that were specifically targeted at resilience being lumped in mainly with highway schemes, but one or two in active travel and so on. We have now had some reassurance from Welsh Government officials that this is purely an administrative process. If you recall back to the original regional transport plan guidance, highway schemes were not the flavour of the month, it's fair to say. But we have been reassured now that if we reclassify these schemes, albeit with quite strong visibility that they're resilience or multimodal schemes, we won't be treated negatively in the assessment process that the Welsh Government's going to apply to our year one submission. So I think that's a major move forward, just to confirm that's an administrative process, not a technical process of reclassifying some of the schemes. I think the final issue is obviously around the delivery, and I think it's fair to say, Stuart, we are working up to that. We've had applications for the regional coordinator post that obviously is going through the process now. So we are starting to put some delivery pillars in place. And I think the final thing to say, Chair, on the report, a couple of final things. First of all, there is the potential for additional funding. I would say that's no more than potential at this stage. It's another recent letter from the Welsh Government indicating additional funding could be available. The officers have put a recommendation in the report about that in the text, and the initial thinking of officers is that if that additional funding does materialise, that we would want to allocate roughly 50% of that to the regional schemes in the list that cover a number of touch points across the region, but also to developing the regional side of the metro. Obviously, we appreciate that Welsh Government are working on the rail elements, in particular of the metro, but there are a number of more local elements that we can progress with the additional funding. The other 50% of any additional funding, officers are recommending that we would increase the delivery rate of the schemes that are already in the programme as an initial piece of work, rather than bringing schemes up from the reserve, the development list as we've called it. Although if there's more funding available than has been suggested, that is always a possibility. So that's just the issue with the delivery side of the two issues with the delivery side to report on, Chair, if I may. The final observation is just to recount that the Welsh Government will be coming back with comments on the submission that we make, that you're looking at today. We'll come back immediately before the Christmas break with comments. Officers have arranged a session immediately in the days before Christmas to go through those comments, and then, Chair, we are into another potential CJC cycle for approvals in January should we require that. Obviously, we're working on the principle with the Welsh Government officials of no surprises at this stage. Have I covered everything, Stuart? I think that's everything that's pertinent in terms of update and beyond the report at the moment, just to give you the moving picture.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Lee.
Thanks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Stuart, for the updates there. Really appreciate that. Really comprehensive. Members, it would be remiss of me as well. I didn't do so in my opening welcome, but it would be remiss of me at this point not to reference the fact that Councillor Darren Price, obviously, who's been chairing the subcommittee on transport, has announced his intention, obviously, to step down. Darren's been an exemplary leader in the region for a number of years and has made a huge contribution both to CJC and to Carmarthenshire County Council, and will be sorely missed as a colleague in the region. And we do obviously wish Darren best in anything that he chooses to do next. But again, I think we should record our wholesome thanks to Darren for the work that he's done on this item specifically, but on his general push to take the region forward. And as I said, wish Darren all the best. In terms of the item today, then, we've got recommendations 1 and 2 in the report are for noting purposes, and recommendation 3 is for approval in the report, given its investment and submission to the Welsh Government as noted for the 21st of November 2025. So I'm happy to open it up. Yes, so I was just going to say I'm happy now to open it up for questions and comments. Steve, Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, thanks, Rob, and certainly echo the comments you made about Darren. He's a good friend and colleague and passionate about transport, so it's an appropriate meeting today to thank him for his work and wish him the best. Just one thing from me, with respects to the officers identifying the 4 major schemes across the region, and I don't believe we need to win a private because I'm not going to ask any financial questions. I just recognise that they are schemes of national impact. Of course, delivering of these schemes, as the report sort of outlines, getting somewhere towards, we're going to have a change of government, and I just wonder the impact that may have in the programme. But timescales for us as local authority leaders and local authority as a whole, it's like the confidence. You talk about schemes for years. We might be talking, if we're still here, after the next elections on these schemes. I just wondered, when we talk about progress and where we go, could we spend an awful lot of money as well during this without there's end of a project or start of a project to be delivered? And just quickly on the metro, I made it quite clear as far as I'm concerned, and Rob will know this, just to take it away, I want buses involved in the programme of the metro as well. I wouldn't be comfortable with delivering a metro that doesn't identify or goes towards the bus transport, because in my particular authority, bus service is far more important than trains. But of course, I do understand the importance of the metro, and I'm fully behind the metro, but it has to bring in the bus as well, just why we got the officers on the call, so that they know where I stand at this moment in time. But thank you for that. I'd certainly support the recommendation today, though, Rob. Diolch, thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and I'll bring the officers in. I think just to give assurance, as you'll know through our discussions, the delivery of these schemes is both bus and rail. It has to be both. We've been very clear about that. It would be ridiculous to try and deliver just an improved bus network that didn't have the rail element with it. And of course, vice versa, it would be the same. It'd be illogical. We'll continue to push strongly on both, and I'm sure that's what's built into the plans the officers have outlined today. But I don't know whether Lee or Stuart, if you want to come in specifically on the points Steve has made.
I'll just touch on a couple of other things, really. I think in terms of Councillor asking about the major schemes, fully agree. There are 4 schemes identified there. They're very significant schemes, and there's a very strong feeling across the region that these should be funded in terms of centrally. The cost would be significant on the regional transport plan funding itself, so I think it's a case of trying to make the case for additional funding for those schemes to deliver, and some of them are larger and would be delivery over a number of years, so that's very much in sight, and it's discussions we'll be having both at officer level and I'm sure at political level with Welsh Government. In terms of your comments on the metro, fully agree. A metro system has to be a combination of different factors. We have the kind of more local metro elements, which I guess are focused on the bus infrastructure, the delivery, the active travel, and the cycling, walking to support those, and the bus infrastructure there. That, along with that, we'll be working with Welsh Government on the franchising elements to get that better control. And then beyond that, the Welsh Government sort of and TFW-led elements of the metro, which are focused on the rail, but it'll only work together if it's a combination of all the different factors coming in. So the metro certainly isn't just a rail process. It's across the board transport to meet the needs for everyone. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Stuart. Lee, anything to add?
I think the only thing to add, Chair, to Stuart's commentary there is that the national delivery plan for transport expires in 2027. So obviously keeping these schemes, developing these schemes through the RTP process is actually a key issue for keeping those schemes on that national radar, as Stuart said. So we do have a national delivery plan that expires in a couple of years' time, and I think we do want those schemes to be at a point or reaching a point where they can be took into the shaping of what replaces the current plan. Is that fair, Stuart? I think we're quite conscious that's a live issue at the moment, and we are getting quite near to the review, and that will cover the trunk roads as well as the motorways, as well as the rail elements that Welsh Government look after.
Okay, so we're getting nods there from Stuart. Okay, I'll go next to Councillor Harvey. John?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. And again, I'd like to echo your comments about Councillor Price. Darren's been an excellent leader and an excellent vice chair of this committee, and obviously the chair of the subcommittee on transport, and will be sorely missed. So we wish him all the best, as you say, in whatever he intends to do next. So question really on match funding. So my understanding, there's been no indication from Welsh Government as to whether match funding will be sought as a prerequisite for scheme consideration. And obviously we've all got sort of budgetary pressures, and whilst these schemes are going to go ahead, and we hope they'll go ahead, there's obviously a match funding element. So I'm wondering whether we've got any clarity from Welsh Government as to what the match funding element will be, or if we haven't, perhaps the CJTC could make an approach to Welsh Government to get that clarity as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. I'll go to the officers just to see if there's any correspondence come in from Welsh Government or anything that's come through the discussions that's given us any further comfort since I last engaged politically a few weeks ago. Whether there's anything further you can add? I
think nothing specific in terms of the match funding levels. I think what I would say is obviously it is a case of seeking any options to match, and I think that's work that's ongoing, looking from the economic development perspective and any equivalents of levelling up or different funding that are coming along. But it's something that we're very keen to pursue any sources of funding. So I think, but nothing specific. I think Lee, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
I think that's fair to say, Stuart, and I think there is an expectation from Welsh Government, obviously not formalised, but an expectation that we will seek those external funds either through, as you say, UK government-related funds, other funds. I mean, clearly environmental funding is a hot topic at the moment, but also planning gain potentially as well. I think we're quite conscious that the strategic development plan is yet to get into gear, but clearly working with the local development plans, there's clearly some potential for small amounts of planning funding as well. So I think it's just maximising those opportunities, as you say, Stuart, really. I think there's no formal guidance that we're aware of. So I think once again, if there is an approach at your level, at the political level, Chair, I think that would be welcome for the officers to bring clarity.
Okay, thank you both. Yeah, very happy to continue to do that, and we'll follow up following the decisions we make today. Okay, are there any other questions or comments on this item? Nobody's indicated they wish to ask anything in the in-camera part of the report. So with that, then I'm more than happy to move the report formally. Could I look for a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. So the report has been formally moved and seconded. As I said, recommendations 1 and 2 are for noting only. Recommendation 3 is for approval. So could I ask you to show whether you're in favour?
That recommendation has been approved, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. That's unanimous. We'll move then to the forward work programme, which is on pages 35 to 38. Any updates on this item at all?
Just to note, Chair, that the next meeting is next week on the 27th. And as usual, if officers or members have anything they would like to add to the forward work programme, just to let me know, or Christy, and we'll get that added in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll note the forward work programme then. Move on to urgent items. I haven't been advised of any urgent items for this morning's meeting. So with that, can I thank you all very much for your attendance and draw the meeting to a close? Thank you.